And leading off our discussion tonight is Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Your office was involved in this lawsuit defending the state, in effect, defending the voters of the state and the way they cast their votes. What is your reaction after reading those 110 pages?
Well, I'm relieved at Judge Parker's findings and her conclusions, and the fact that she, frankly, she issued each and every one of the requests that we had made and that the city of Detroit had made in terms of what we believe the sanctions should be. She actually went even further than that in ordering all of the attorneys actually to attend continuing education classes, which I've never seen before in regard to an order by the court. They've been ordered to complete classes in both how to file proper pleadings and also in election law, since they demonstrated that they know nothing about election law whatsoever and really had no business in filing this lawsuit to begin with. So I'm relieved because I think it's important. This decision and this ruling by Judge Parker is incredibly important in terms of maintaining our democracy, and so that people understand that even if you can brazenly lie on television or in a press conference or on social media, there is one place still in this country where you must rely on the truth, and that is in a court of law and in our system of justice. But Judge Parker is not one to suffer fools, and these Trump attorneys made incredible fools of themselves, clearly.
So the money sanction is that they are each and all liable to pay attorney's fees for the state of Michigan, for the city of Detroit. Do you have any idea how much money that's going to be that they're being ordered to pay? Because the attorney's fees hasn't yet been calculated.
Well, it's for the city of Detroit attorneys and also for my attorneys at the Department of Attorney General in Michigan. So there's been a request made for us to calculate exactly what those hours are based on the pay of my attorneys and based on the billing for the city of Detroit attorneys. And so we'll be submitting that in a timely fashion. I imagine it'll certainly be tens of thousands of dollars, depending on what the city of Detroit attorneys are billing. It could be much, much higher than that.
And you mentioned that order she gave them about submitting to a continuing legal education study of some kind. She also requires them to report back to her, basically on what they've learned in that course. And so they presumably, these lawyers, most or all of them, will want to appeal this entire order and try to delay the implementation of anything in this order. What do you expect the prospects to be on appeal?
I expect that they will not be successful if that's what they attempt to do. I mean, this is a 110-page opinion, and it is exhaustive in its detail and in terms of the legal support that Judge Parker lends to the decisions that she's made. So I don't expect that there will be any success on the part of the plaintiff's attorneys in the event that they appeal. And, you know, I think that she, Judge Parker, meaning she gave incredible substance to the reason and the rationale behind each and every one of her orders. And if ever there was a case of attorneys that require this type of sanctioning, and that I would argue it's appropriate for each and every one of them to be disbarred, it's in a case of this magnitude that had this kind of impact, where you have such a substantial portion of the population in the United States now that no longer has belief in the accuracy and in the safety of our elections. And in fact, Judge Parker ties the events of the insurrection on January 6th at the Capitol directly to this lawsuit and to the allegations that were made in this lawsuit. And I think she's correct in doing so.
I want to get your reaction before we go to the other big legal story out of Michigan today, and that is that the sentencing of one of the people who participated in the plot to kidnap and murder Governor Gretchen Whitmer. He was sentenced to 75 months in prison. Ty Garvin, he is cooperating in this investigation. He got 75 months in prison. What does that tell us about what we'll see in this prosecution, in this case, going forward?
Well, these are the federal cases that you're talking about right now, and that's a federal defendant. There are 6 of them. There are an additional 8 defendants that we are prosecuting in state court for my department. But what I would say it suggests is that these defendants, in the event that they're convicted, are facing very, very lengthy sentences. And I think it sends a powerful message about domestic terrorism in this country and the fact that there's a price to pay in the event that you're involved in this kind of conduct.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, thank you very much for joining us on this important day for Michigan. Really appreciate it.